Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you inky savages are joining me for episode number 193 of the PenBoyRoy Pentertainment Podcast. It's been a couple of weeks, it's been a few weeks, and I am trying to catch up. A lot of happenings and stuff is going on in the life of the Penboy. I'll fill you in a little bit. Just want to update you on my good friend Lyman and Mika. Lyman is hanging in there. He's being real strong. He's being real supportive to the condition that Mika is in. As you guys know, April 12th of 2024, this year, my dear friend Lyman and Mika were involved in a car accident. She is still recovering and is still in a coma. So I've been asking for everybody as much as possible to check out the GoFundMe link in the description below and complete a donation as much as you can or as little as you can. All of it helps to the recovery process for Mika. She was a former Marine. She was part of the military police, and she was a sniper, highly trained and highly established in the military. Was able to accomplish a lot more than anyone expected her to be able to do. And the same is said for her condition in progress currently. Everything was doom and gloom in the beginning, doctors saying the prognosis was grim, but her improvements were happening quickly and continues to do so. However, as quickly as it is and unexpected it is, it's still a long process, and as everybody probably knows, medical expenses are astronomical and exponential by the day. If we hit the goal of the GoFundMe today, it still more than likely would be too little compared to what is actually going to happen. Lyman, my good friend, who is having a very difficult time, is really an inspiration and somebody I've known to be one of the toughest dudes on the earth. And when this happened, I seen him at his lowest. But in spite of him being at his lowest, he is being stronger than I ever could or anybody I've seen in such a traumatic situation. Anyway, please donate at the GoFundMe in the description below to Mika's recovery fund. She's dedicated her life to serving our country, to helping people with mental illness and mental health awareness. So if you guys could do that, it would mean a lot. Thank you. Anyway, I have a topic for this week's discussion that I wanted to talk to you about. It's what ruins a fountain pen. And I wanted to talk about this because I find that a lot of times I have a love for a fountain pen, but then discover something that kind of just ruins it for me. And that might be, I don't know if that's OCD or if it is because the hobby of fountain pens makes you so incredibly passionate that every little nuance matters. And it's a discussion I want to have with you guys because I sometimes need to know, is it me being a crazy OCD person? Or do you guys share the same things when it comes to the little nuances and things that can ruin a fountain pen? But before I get to that, I have to just catch up on some sponsorships. I want to talk about our very good friends over at Luxury Brands of America. Okay, so there's a new collection called Astro Gem. It's inspired by the shape of the interstellar asteroid. Okay, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this. Oumuamua. Oumuamua. And the numerous social media comments suggesting that the asteroid has a Bennu-like vibe. I'm going to post a picture, but don't you think they prove that even interstellar objects can be flamboyant and colorful if designed by Bennu? I'm looking at these pens and I'm liking it. I do appreciate those looks. You're going to see it. You're going to like it too. Okay, and also, don't forget about the new GirologioMade.com website. It is live. Enjoy an additional 10% off with coupon code PENSAVAGE10 exclamation mark. Again, that's PENSAVAGE exclamation. If you visit the new Girologio website to get some of the best pen cases in the industry, as well as trusted by many industry professionals as their choice when traveling and stuff, you can enjoy a discount for, I think, one of the hottest pen cases ever created in the history of anything ever created ever. Just know that those two things are happening. It is the pens called the Astrogem, and Benu makes them. They are pretty awesome. They're based on an asteroid. Very beautiful, colorful, flamboyant pens. Benu did a great job with them. And also, in order to carry those pens around safely, you need to have a case. So GirologioMade.com, I have an affiliate link for that. I'd appreciate it if you click on it. Go down in the description, click on it, and check that bad boy out. Now, I spoke about the Navilar Horizon Earth Special Editions, and those are pretty cool pens. They're piston filling mechanisms. There's only $168, which is not too bad. What I also want to talk about is the Esterbrook Model J Chatoyant Acrylic Fountain Pens. Instead of introducing yet another color of the SD, Esterbrook decided to add three acrylic colors to the Model J lineup that should already be familiar. We got Capri Blue. It looks very nice and blue and has like this really thick center band that is unusual for the J series. Pumpkin Latte, and you guys seen this one before. This one just has, like I said, again, a bigger center band. The pen looks bigger and girthier. And Palm Green, which I really love. This one is just really beautiful. I think the green one is by far the best. And if I didn't think that the green one was best, I would say that the Pumpkin Latte would be the next best. So they're all three colors. They already exist in the JR line, but now they got a bigger, girthier J model. And you can tell the difference because of the center band, and it's just a good amount larger. They have gold trims, gold-plated Yobo stainless steel nibs, cartridge converter filling, and turn from chatoyant acrylic resin. Embrace the old school vintage style charm of the reimagined Esterbrook J Fountain pen. I mean, this is a really beautiful pen. I'm pretty sure that somebody out there is going to be like, yeah, but it doesn't look like the old one. It's not a recreation. That's fine. It may not be a recreation, but it is inspired by the old stuff, and it looks really nice. I actually can't wait to get my hands on one. I'm probably going to go with the pumpkin latte color, even though it's not green. I actually really like the way that brown looks better than the actual green. I know. I must be losing my mind or something. I want to read this part again. Embrace the old school, vintage style charm of the reimagined Esterbrook Model J Fountain Pen. Available now. $225. Okay. I'm going to leave an affiliate link in the description below so that you can click on that. Unfortunately, with Esterbrook, discounts don't apply. But at the very least, you can use the affiliate link and help me out. I also want to talk about the Sailor Pro Gear Pen of the Year of 2024. How awesome is that? This thing looks really awesome. Let your writing shine with the new Celestial Gray Pen of the Year from Sailor Japan. This North American exclusive design shimmers with starry-like sparkle throughout the deep gray translucent resin. To complement the silver sparkle, Sailor appoints rhodium hardware and rhodium finished gold nib to this fountain pen. This self-appointed Pen of the Year carries its title on the cap, where the year 2024 is engraved. These pens will come in extra fine, medium, broad nib sizes. Sailor has proprietary cartridges and converters, obviously. You can click on the affiliate link in the description below, and of course, Sailor is another one of those brands that says, kiss my ass to discount codes. They say, no way. You have to pay full price, unfortunately. But having said that, $280 for the Pro Gear Slim with a 14 karat gold nib, or a whopping $392 for the Pro Gear Regular, but that one comes with a 21 karat gold nib. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Injection molded pens that cost a lot, but the nib certainly makes up for the cost, because I honestly think that the Sailor pens, Sailor Platinum, Pilot, they pull a good price because of the nibs. The magic is in the nibs, whereas something like the SDJ pen or the the Esterbrook J pen or the JR. Not so much the nibs, but really the design and stuff like that, the acrylic. Even though some of those acrylics are probably stock acrylics that don't justify the cost, but there's a lot of thought and design that goes into it. That's up to you. You tell me which one you think is better for the price. I mean, $225 for an acrylic pen, that's a J pen, versus like $280 for a Pro Gear Slim with a 14 karat gold nib. I don't know. Your call. Put that in the comments. I want to know. Okay? Also, what has already launched on May 14th, the new Euphoria Pink Champagne Fountain Pen. Celebrating Goldspot's latest collaboration with Benu, make a splash with the bubbly pink champagne fountain pen. This pen has a bubbly personality with an effervescent sparkle that never goes flat. The 10-sided cap and barrel reflect the majestic shimmer and holographic glitter disturbed throughout the rose-colored translucent resin. Wow, this is a really beautiful pen. I know it's the photographer over there at Goldspot. They do really good work over there. Make pens look really nice. They're the best, I think, when it comes to bringing out a pen's beauty through pictures, which is a lot of times hard to do. You lose a lot in that process of making a picture. You got to hold it in your hands, but they do it really well. Listen to this. Achieve a drug-free feeling of euphoria while riding with this pen's number 6 size stainless steel nib, available in fine, medium, or broad sizes. Both cartridge and converter options are available to fill the pen with ink. Well, that's good to know. Each pen is a gift boxed with a manufacturer's warranty, making it a great long-lasting gift. I mean, Benu in general, wait till you see this pen. You're going to see it in the description. I love how they did this photograph. They juxtaposed like pink and blue, which makes sense because of the colors in the pen. And this one's really important. Memorial Day weekend, 50% off last call pen specials. I actually was looking at the email that Goldspot sent that I always get in regard to like sales and stuff, and I found a cat pen by Retro51 that was 50% off, and I'm just like, shit, I'm not even going to ask Tom for anything. I'm just going to order it, and I bought it. Can't wait to get it because I love cats. People who don't love cats need to look at themselves. Forget about a measly 5 or 10% off discount starting Wednesday, May 22nd and rolling through the long Memorial Day weekend, which is right the hell now. Goldspot has over 500 items, including fountain pens, notebooks, and writing accessories, slash 50% off retail price. That's a good amount of discount. This is your last call on select pens from the greatest names in writing. Final prices are listed on Goldspot until Monday, May 27th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Inventory is limited on most items to 1 or 2 pieces per pen. No rain checks or back orders on out-of-stock items. Plus, podcast listeners can use the Pentertainment code. Same brand exclusions apply, though. So make sure you check this out. Holy cow. This is awesome. Anyway, that's all I got for sponsorships. I want to thank Goldspot Pens. I want to thank Luxury Brands of America for hanging in there with me during this hard time because of my very dear friends who were involved in this traumatic incident. It has been very difficult for Lyman and obviously for Mika, and he's doing everything that he can, everything in his power to remain strong. And for her, they are such a lovely couple. They are so in love, and this is just one of the worst things that could happen. And I appreciate any donations you can make to the GoFundMe in the description below. All right, now I want to talk about what ruins a fountain pen today. But before I get started, I know I used a little bit of the potty mouth words before I even gave you the disclaimer. But before we get started, I want to give you the quick disclaimer. This podcast is not scripted and therefore will contain potty mouth words. So be forewarned, you have been warned. Now, on to the podcast.
The PenBoyRoy Entertainment Podcast. Stay savage.
Okay, so episode number 193. What ruins a fountain pen for you? And when it comes to that question, the reason I ask is because there's so many little nuances about a fountain pen that could take a fountain pen from my favorite fountain pen to not so favorite fountain pen. I want to talk about this pen here. This is the Series M Monteverde Innova. It's a really cool pen. It has like these braided steel patterns on it, which is really cool. And I really like it. It's all like gunmetal black. It looks really cool. It's sleek, has a very satisfying snap cap. You can listen to it. But I've been noticing some things about it. Well, one thing about it that's kind of bothering me. But before I get into that, let's talk about what ruins a fountain pen. Now, everybody can certainly agree, obviously, a shitty writing experience. I think that's across the board, right? You have to admit, a pen can be cheap, it could be expensive, it could be made of the most rare material on the planet, or it can be made of the cheapest material on the planet. If the writing experience is shitty, then it's almost unredeemable unless, you can fix it yourself. A lot of people don't have the ability to do that and fix it themselves, so it kind of is just like buying a car that doesn't start. The car is useless, right? Or buying a cool, I don't know, gun that just malfunctions every shot. That gun is worthless, no matter how cool it is. So a shitty writing experience. When it comes to this Monteverde Innova Series M, I want to say that I guess maybe this one in particular is one of my favorite writing experiences of all my fountain pens. I love the way this pen writes, and it's just a stainless steel Yovo nib with a cheapy plastic feed, but it just writes really well. It has the Monteverde logo on it. It has a cheapy plastic feed, which isn't always the best feeds for fountain pens, but I love the way it writes. And then on top of that, I love how it looks, it feels in the hand, the quickness of the snap cap, because nowadays I've been very busy with everything going on at work, with everything going on in my personal life. I need something quick. I don't want to have to sit there and unscrew. I know it only takes a few seconds, but that's a small nuance about a pen that makes it either an everyday carry or not. I'm sitting here before I leave for work and I'm about to grab a pen and I need something quick. This is the pen. I also have the Rose Gold edition, which I also adore. And I'm going to talk about things that ruin the pens. I'm not talking or taking jabs at Monteverde in particular because I love Monteverde. I love my friends over at Yafa Brands, Yair and Neve. They're great people. But there are some things about this that do bother me, and I'm wondering if they bother you or if they would bother you. Okay, so a shitty writing experience. Clearly, without question, that could ruin a pen for pretty much everybody across the board unless they're pretty savvy with fixing them themselves and they can do it themselves. Which brings the question. Let's say you are JJ Lax. Let's say you have nib tuning skills up the ass. Does it then ruin a pen experience for you if out of the box it doesn't write, but you make it right yourself? Or has that pen redeemed because you were able to redeem it? Tell me what you think. Are you the type of person that out of the box, if it doesn't work, you don't do anything to fix it? Or are you the type of person that'll mess around with it until it does right? And then at that point, will you, yes or no, allow it to be a favorite pen? Or has the whole experience been soured for you? For me, it's a mixed bag. It's not one or the other. For some people, it might be an extreme where it's just one or it's the other. It's ruined or it's not. I want to know your experience with that. Put it in the comments below or somewhere, or email me. I prefer you put it, if you're watching this, put it in the YouTube comments because I can read them all in a string. And, I am going to get to comments. I know I say that all the time. I do mean to. But does it hamper it for everybody? And let's talk about another brand like the Homo Sapien, the Visconti Homo Sapien, notorious, or at least at some point in time, notorious for terrible writing experiences, but absolutely insanely gorgeous pens. If it writes like shit, people find a way to fix them and then love it. But like I was asking, is that at that point a forced love? Are they being real with themselves? Are they being real about it? Or are they trying to convince themselves that they love it because they spent a lot of money on it. They want to enjoy the hype of the Visconti Homo sapien. So they end up fixing it and find that now that they fixed it themselves, now it works. For me, that was my story with a couple of Homo sapiens. And if I'm being really honest with myself, I have to honestly say that somewhere in the back of my mind, every time I pick up the pen, I know that I had to make it work, that it didn't work right out of the box. And then I'm wondering, am I forcing my love of the pen as opposed to it happening organically and naturally? And I'm not sure. Like, I have to think about that more. And sometimes, we have these thought processes in our head and we can't really figure it out because we're not sure. Like, I'm not sure about how I feel about the Visconti Homo sapien. Yes, I really like the Homo sapien. I really think it's a really cool pen. But it is tainted with the fact that I had to make it right. I had to figure out how to make it right well. And I had to figure out how to do that. It didn't come out of the box that way. So, I don't know. And I guess that's why I want to talk about it, because I think when we talk about things and we share our experiences and explore them, we are able to maybe make more sense of how we feel about something, right? That's why it's important that we connect and talk to each other, especially in this hobby. So, you tell me what you think. Did you ever have a pen experience where you had to make it work, and after making it work, you allowed it to become your favorite pen, you forced it to become your favorite pen, or if it organically became your favorite pen? Or did you get a pen out of the box and because it wasn't entirely perfect right out of the box, the whole experience was just ruined? I've experienced all of those, and I wonder what you guys did. Also, another thing for me that ruins a fountain pen is inconsistency from the same line. For example, a pen from the same line, and both are fine nibs that have different line widths and scritchiness. So, like, let's say you buy an Edison pen, and the Edison pen you bought is an extra fine, but it writes more like a medium, but has a really sweet spot when it comes to a hint of feedback and toothiness. And then you buy the exact same line of pens with the exact same extra fine nib, and you get it in the mail, and it has a different toothiness, maybe way less, and it's a much finer extra fine than the first pen. So they're not consistency. There's no consistency there. Not saying Edison pen doesn't have consistency. They do. I'm just saying that as an example. I did experience the Edison Nouveau in the Caribbean Blue, and what I found was that pen was a wonderful writer. I bought it in extra fine, but it writes more like a medium. I've bought other Edison Nouveaux from Goulet pens and found that those pens would have a extra fine nib that doesn't have the same type of tooth and is way finer, just like I explained before. That kind of inconsistency has to happen because they tune and adjust their nibs. But now I'm conflicted between which one is going to be more of a standard. And in that case, it kind of, I guess, deters my next purchase because I want to buy an extra fine and I like the writing experience of the Caribbean Blue. But the second pen I had, I didn't like the writing experience as much. And now I'm worried about what am I going to get when I order another one. So that could kind of deter me from making a purchase of an Edison pen. I know it seems very, like, petty, but it's one of the things that I consider when I buy a pen. How is it for you guys when you buy a pen? Do you care about those little nuanced differences? I mean, obviously, there's going to be differences between nib to nib to nib, no matter who the manufacturer. But when you take a brand such as Platinum or Sailor or Pilot, I find that they have the most consistency when it comes to, one, nibs out of the box that write really well, and two, line width. So I kind of wonder sometimes, how come those brands can pull it off, but other brands, like brands that use Yovo nibs or Bach nibs, what are they having so much trouble with? Why can't they do it? It's a question that has been on my mind a lot. I never really asked it because it's so common. But something being very common shouldn't stop us from asking questions about it, wouldn't you think? Like, if there is something worth pointing out, even though it happens all day long, all the time, I think we should keep pointing it out. Giving feedback to brands, manufacturers, retailers, anybody who is involved, so that way we can maybe strive for better consistency. I think the only problem is when you give feedback, a lot of times people don't know how to consume feedback in under any other way than hostile criticism. I know the way I talk and the way I am at times can make me sound like an asshole. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but sometimes I want to ask questions about stuff. I want to know, why is it that when you buy pens, you can get a golden egg fountain pen, and then you buy from the same line, from the same brand or manufacturer, you get a dud? Why is there inconsistency? Where does that inconsistency come from? And is there anything that we can do to mitigate it? Because I've just talking about Monteverde, I've had such great experiences with this Innova Series M. I've also had great experiences writing with the original Innova line when it was first launched. But what happens when I buy my next one? I really wish when it came to brands like Monteverde and brands like Visconti that they could offer the same kind of consistency and the same kind of out-of-the-box quality that Platinum and Pilot and Sailor offers. I wonder what it is that Sailor is doing better that makes them so consistent versus all these other European brands or American brands. I really want to ask the question about that. So there's that. And then there's also things that ruin fountain pens for me are little blemishes. Now, these blemishes can happen through the course of use, and those are more forgivable because, what was it called? The wabi-sabi effect, where you own something long enough and it becomes yours because of the usage that it endures, right? The wear it goes through. And I think that's cool. Like, for example, my Innova Series M has some wear on the rim of the cap, and I thought that would drive me crazy. It doesn't, because it's been in my pocket with my keys. It's been in pockets with equipment and stuff that scratch it, but that's okay for me. It used to not be, but it kind of is. But then there are blemishes that are not part of your control, and I don't know if you can see it, but I'm trying to show it to you right now. As I rotate this pen in the cap, if I do it long enough, do you see that end finial? The end finial is not completely straight up and down. It's ever so, like half a degree slanted. So if I were to roll this pen on a flat surface, it'll look like a slightly warped cue stick. You know how when you play pool, you roll the stick on the table to see if the stick is straight? And every once in a while, you'll find that cue stick with a slight bend or warp in the stick. Well, that's what this is on a very, very minuscule perspective. Like you probably can't even see it that well because it's so small. But take a look. Do you see how it's not completely straight? That to me is a blemish. And I discovered that the other day. I mean, it took some time for me to discover it, but once I did it, it kind of bothered me. It's like a rock in my shoe. It doesn't affect the writing experience. It doesn't affect how it functions. It doesn't affect anything else except for my OCD brain telling me that it's like that. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't just like bend it or force it straight. It's just stuck that way. It's just made that way. Am I being weird for letting it bother me? Like shit like that will be the reason why I don't take this to work. I know it sounds so petty and I feel so Rain Man about it, right? If you guys watched Rain Man, you'll know what I mean. You know, it's just one of those things from that irks me. What do I do? Do I get over it and just use it and enjoy it and move on? Or do I nitpick about it and let it bother me? Because my thing is this: if I let it bother me, for sure there's going to be 1,000 pens and each one is going to have something that more than likely might take some time for me to notice, or maybe I may never notice, or maybe I wouldn't have noticed, but I'm looking for it. Does that make me like negative? That I'm looking for little problems as opposed to allowing myself just to have fun and enjoy a fountain pen? I don't know. Like, this is one of the things I like about the fountain pen hobby. There is so much introspective reflection that occurs from being a fountain pen enthusiast. Like, I discover things about myself and I wonder how it applies to the rest of my life. You know, I had a friend tell me, actually my friend Lyman, say, like, the way you are with one aspect of your life usually translates to other aspects of your life. And that had me thinking. I'm very OCD and anal retentive about my fountain pens. And now I'm paying attention to myself about how am I with other areas of my life. So I'm wondering, is it good that I'm identifying these things and I'm things about the fountain pens and how incredibly like anal retentive I am about it? And now that I'm identifying that when it comes to fountain pens, should I identify how I am with the rest of the things in my life? Because I may be doing this and pissing a lot of people off and not know it. But anyway, like I said, sometimes they have blemishes out of the box. Sometimes they have blems that develop over time with use. And like I said, I'm okay with that. Another thing that kills me: corroding clips, right? So like you buy a pen and you like it and you have a collection of them. For example, this one happens a lot with the STs, and I wish I could reach over and find it so I can show you, but I got so much stuff. Let me see if I have one here that I can show you. But when it comes to like the STs, right? What I notice is if you set them aside or leave them in a case for long enough, your STs will start to develop these like corroded like clips. The clips will start getting pitting and the clips will start to have these little dark holes / spots that you can't wipe away. Should that happen? Has that happened to people? Is that okay to happen? And are you to blame for storing it for a long time and not using it? Because I remember I was talking to somebody about this. I was saying, yeah, the clip has like these corroded pits within the clip, and you try to wipe them off and they don't come off. They're there forever. And the person had told me, I can't remember who I was speaking to, it was somebody from Kenro, is it because of lack of use? I said, well, yeah, I mean, it happens when I store it for a long time. And then this person was like, well, that's the problem. You're not using it. Yes, it is the problem. Yes, you are not using it. But if I don't use it, is it acceptable that the material with lack of use degrades like that? And is it truly my fault? Because sometimes you buy stuff and you don't use it right away. Like especially in the fountain pen hobby, when you buy so many pens and then a lot of them get stored and a lot of them don't get used, and then the metal starts to corrode. Me personally, I think if a metal starts to corrode on a pen, that's a problem with the metal. I could buy a pen and it should be up to me to either use it every day or store it just to stare at it every day. And one objective can't be better or wrong compared to the other because people buy pens for different reasons. Sometimes I buy pens just to use them. Sometimes I buy pens just to have them. And in the case where I buy pens just to have them, is it fair to say that it's going to corrode and have pitting because your objective in buying the pen is not conducive to how the pen was made? I don't know. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't think I can reach the pen that I have. I want to show you. Hold on. Stand by, please. Yeah. I just have so many. I can't find it at the moment. I wish I could show it to you. I think I have to. I have to. You guys have to stand by one and give me a second because I think I do need to show it to you because you have to know what I'm talking about, and you have to. Okay, here I found it. Like for example, I have these Estes, and these Estes are like the Diamond Cast sparkly ones. Now, if you look at the clip, it's hard to see because of the lighting. But if you look at the clip, there's all these imperfections in the clip, and they're brown dots. Do you see those little divots? Okay, there you can see it there. These little divots are because I had left the pens in this awesome pen case made by Esterbrook for a long period of time. And after a while, like look at this red one here. After a while, they develop these pits and divots in the clip. Now look at these pens. These pens are absolutely gorgeous fountain pens. And maybe somebody bought it to be a daily use pen. But maybe somebody bought it just to add to a collection because they wanted all the pens in this series and they just wanted to have it. And they don't use it. You can't turn around and say, oh, well, that guy's motivation for buying it is wrong and the clip deteriorating is on them, not on the pen. I don't believe that at all. I think that everybody has their own reasons for buying pens, and everybody has their own reasons for collecting pens. And no one can say one is right or one is wrong. I think that, in my personal opinion, it is the problem with the material and the manufacturing. If that happens, that's not okay. It's not okay to say, well, they were supposed to use it every day to prevent that. Now, listen, there's a difference between if I fill a pen with ink and store it in a cabinet for 30 years and never cleaned it out. Yeah, that's lack of care. But what about the guy who bought a pen because it's part of their massive different colors collection, and they haven't used it, but the pen material degrades over time? So I found this pen here. This is the Monteverde Essentia, one of my favorite pens still to this day because of the facets. I can't help but notice there's no degradation on this pen. I always loved this pen. I always thought it was a steal at $76 for a faceted hand-polished pen. The thing people couldn't get past was the grip section being metal, but this pen is so beautiful in so many different ways that I can forgive anything about this pen when it comes to the grip section. But anyway, let's also talk about shitty tolerances. So this is something that is completely manufacturer related. And let me give you an example. I have a Pelican Vibrant Green finial and clip. And what I found is that they're secured on, but not really that tight, so they can actually rotate. Another shitty tolerances example is on the older Homo sapiens, back when they were palladium nibs. I had nibs that had palladium coloring, which is like just white metal, and then there was like gold fill-ins where the logo was, but they colored outside the lines. That to me was just a quality control issue with a lack of like attention to the tolerances. You can't allow that to happen. I mean, I think for a pen that costs in the $800s of dollars, something like that can definitely sour the experience for somebody. Not everybody, like people can get past it, but that's what I'm saying. When you're buying a pen, if there's something there that can be mitigated, mitigate it. Don't leave it to the purchaser or the buyer or the collector to just get over it. I don't think that's ever cool. And then cheap parts and materials. And this is a big one for me. As much as I love my Monteverde fountain pens and stuff like that, cheapy plastic feeds. I hate the cheapy plastic feeds. Get the Yovo feeds. I would love to see better quality parts in pens instead of cutting corners. I understand it'll make the price go up, and I can't have it both ways. But think about this, for a pen like the Anova, $76 for a faceted pen, that's an insanely good price. Maybe jack the price up by $5 and give a better feed. But I know it's not realistic, because in order to do that, you have to have a different housing, you got to have different parts to make them parts and whatnot. But I would like to see less chibi plastic feeds and less, like in the case of the Esterbrook Estes, less cheaply made finishes on clips, so that they don't pit whether it is I'm using it every day or not. And I've said this before in the past, over redundancy ruins pens for me. If I keep seeing the same material used over and over and over in pens, it says to me that everybody is just jumping on making a buck bandwagon. If I see the same acrylic from different brands to different lines to different pens all the time, that color blinds me from all of those pens after a while. And I feel like maybe let's not do that as much. But then again, at the same time, like, I'm trying to think about it from both sides. If they don't do that, then they run out of ideas to make pens interesting and make pens appealing, which is why I appreciate Benu so much. Benu does things differently than everybody else. I love it. I love how they take just ideas and psychedelic ideas. Like, I'm not throwing any shade at Benu. I love Benu. What are they smoking? They come up with some really awesome stuff. Like, Benu is like the Beatles on LSD of fountain pens. That's how I feel about it, because they always come up with these crazy ideas, and I love it. The problem is, crazy ideas can be off-putting for people who are more traditional in concepts when it comes to fountain pens, or don't like fountain pens being too crazy and wild and out there. But I think you need it. It adds a good amount of variety to an industry that is becoming very saturated with same. So, I don't know. You tell me your opinions on this. Like, this was a hard one to talk about because it's so subjective. But I would like to have a discussion with you guys about it. I want to know where you guys stand on stuff with it. Like, what ruins a fountain pen for you? What can ruin it for you, and what makes things just uncopable? Or have you had things that made a fountain pen less than perfect, but then you just got past it and moved on, and then you would eventually allow yourself to enjoy it? And what is the psychological means by which you guys live with stuff? Like, you buy a pen, there's something about it that disappoints you. What is the conversation you're having with yourself that makes you able to live with something that maybe you weren't able to in the beginning? Let me know in the comments. I really like hearing from you guys. Again, I apologize for being too busy to respond all the time and stuff, but I do, while on the move, I'm looking at these things and I'm appreciating them, and I love you guys. I really do. And I'm going to cut this episode a little bit short because I've got things to do and attention spans are short. So I hope you guys appreciate a 45-minute episode instead of something over an hour. And again, before I sign off, please check out the GoFundMe in the description below. Check out my sponsors. It's keeping the lights on in here. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thanks again for listening or watching. Love you guys. Be well. Be safe.